November 27, 1944, 9:23 p.m. Rex military working dog, K9, number 741, sat on the lower deck of LST-477 in the Surigao Strait, Philippines. Sergeant Thomas Hale kept one hand on the dog's harness. Above them, 3 Army transport ships moved in slow column through black water, carrying 217 engineers, ammunition, and bridging equipment. Japanese submarines had been reported in the area for 6 days. Standard protocol was clear. Dogs remained below deck during night transit. No exceptions. The problem was detection range. American sonar could identify a torpedo at roughly 400 yards. At that distance, a loaded LST, slow, heavy, turning like a barge, needed 90 seconds to complete an evasive maneuver. Most torpedoes covered 400 yards in 47 seconds. The math was simple. The ships couldn't turn fast enough. The 5th Amphibious Force had lost 11 vessels in the Philippine campaign since October. LST-342 went down on November 9th, killing 43 men. LST-198 sank on November 19th, 61 dead. The torpedoes hit before the alarm sounded. Rex had survived 2 sinkings already. Both times he'd behaved strangely, minutes before impact, pacing, whining, scratching at bulkheads. Both times handlers dismissed it as stress. Both times the ships went down. Now, at 9:23 p.m., Rex's body went rigid. His head snapped toward the forward bulkhead. He growled low, continuous, directed. Hale tightened his grip. Stay. Rex pulled against the harness. The scent was unmistakable. Compressed air, metallic oil, displaced water. A torpedo, inbound, 300 yards out, and closing. Hale gave the command again. Stay! Rex tore free and bolted for the ladder. If Hale reported the breach, Rex would be confined for the remainder of the deployment. If he didn't and the dog was wrong, Reed would have both of them removed from active duty. What happened in the next 4 minutes would save 3 ships and rewrite detection doctrine for every K9 unit in the Pacific Fleet. The convoy moved through Surigao Strait at 8 knots, 3 LSTs in column formation. LST-477 carried 217 men, engineers, ammunition, bridging equipment. The night was thick. Black water, black sky. Temperature 68 degrees, humidity near saturation. Red lamps lit the lower deck. Minimal visibility protocol. The salt air hit hard against the hull. Diesel engines pulsed steady, 420 RPM. The water slapped metal in rhythm. Old gunpowder smell leaked from the cargo hold. Thin fog blurred distant stars. The deck was wet, slick under boots. Wind cut through the radio antennas with a high whine. The ships held formation tight, 300 yards between vessels. The crew spoke little. They listened to the sea instead, listened for sounds that shouldn't be there. Japanese submarines had been reported in the area for 6 days. I-class boats, fast, deadly. The 5th Amphibious Force had lost 11 vessels since October. LST-342 went down November 9th, 43 dead. LST-198 sank November 19th, 61 dead. LST-66 on October 24th, 37 dead. The torpedoes hit before alarm sounded. Every time. Standard protocol was clear. Dogs remain below deck during night transit. No exceptions. Lieutenant Marcus Reed had written the order himself. Reed was 34. From Baltimore. Naval Operations Officer. 11 years in service. He saw military working dogs as equipment. Useful equipment. But equipment nonetheless. The problem was detection range. American sonar identified torpedoes at roughly 400 yards. At that distance, a loaded LST needed 90 seconds to complete evasive maneuvers. Most torpedoes covered 400 yards in 47 seconds. The math was simple. The ships couldn't turn fast enough. Men died in the gap between detection and action. Rex sat on the lower deck. K9 number 741. Sergeant Thomas Hale kept one hand on the dog's harness. Hale was 29, from Oregon, former lumberjack. He'd been handling Rex for 14 months. His hands were calloused from rope and leather. The convoy passed through the strait slowly, careful. The red lamps cast shadows on bulkheads. The metal walls sweated condensation. The air tasted like oil and salt. The engines vibrated through the deck plates, steady thrumming that never stopped. Rex's ears moved, small adjustments, tracking sounds the men couldn't hear, the water against the hull, the propellers churning, something else. Faint, metallic, displaced water 300 yards out, maybe less. Rex's body went rigid. His head snapped toward the forward bulkhead. He growled, low, continuous, directed. Hale tightened his grip on the harness. Stay. Rex pulled against the leather. The scent was unmistakable now. Compressed air, metallic oil, displaced water, a torpedo, inbound, 300 yards, and closing. 23 knots. Hale gave the command again. Stay. Rex felt it differently that night. Rex was 6 years old, born in Wisconsin, trained initially for landmine detection. His nose was unusual, more sensitive than standard. The trainers noticed it during exercises at Fort Benning. In May 1943, Rex detected an unstable ammunition depot before it exploded. The depot had been cleared by engineers twice. Rex refused to move past it, kept circling back, whining, scratching at the ground 15 feet from the entrance. They evacuated the area. The depot detonated 4 hours later. Faulty blasting caps. No casualties. They transferred him to amphibious operations. His resistance to water was exceptional. His endurance in surf was better than dogs half his age. Rex had survived 2 sinkings already. LST-198 on November 19th, LST-342 3 weeks before that. Both times he'd behaved strangely minutes before impact, pacing, whining, scratching at bulkheads. Both times handlers dismissed it as stress, combat anxiety. Both times the ships went down. On LST-342, Rex had pulled away from his handler 6 minutes before the torpedo hit. The handler, Corporal James Chen from Sacramento, tried to restrain him. Rex broke free, ran to the starboard side, barked 3 times at the water. Chen went after him. The torpedo struck port side. The blast threw Chen into the water. Rex jumped after him, kept him afloat for 18 minutes until rescue. Sergeant Thomas Hale became Rex's handler after Chen was reassigned to land duty. Hale was rigid, disciplined. He followed protocols exactly. He loved the dog, but he believed in rules, military order, chain of command. Lieutenant Reed considered Rex a tool, an asset, nothing more. He'd written in his log that emotional attachment to animals compromised operational judgment. He preferred clean lines, clear procedures. The crew trusted Rex more than they trusted sonar. They'd seen him work, watched him detect concealed explosives that engineers missed, saw him pull wounded men from water. The dog calculated risk by scent, not by sound, not by sight. Rex obeyed commands. He'd been trained for 18 months before deployment, but he obeyed only when obedience made sense. When it didn't, when the smell of death grew stronger than the sound of human orders, he made his own decisions. His conflict was simple: instinct versus command. The voice of his handler versus the scent of incoming death. His swimming ability impressed naval engineers. In training, he'd retrieved equipment from depths of 12 feet. He could maintain position in current for up to 40 minutes. His physical strength allowed him to run on wet decks without losing traction. Rex sensed human life as extension of his own body. 217 men on LST-477. He felt their weight, their breathing, their presence in the hull around him. The metallic smell grew stronger. Rex's muscles tensed beneath Hale's hand. The metallic scent spiked, sharp, sudden. Rex lunged forward. Hale's grip tightened on the harness. Stay! Rex pulled harder. Hale had 40 pounds on him, but Rex was leverage and panic. The dog twisted. The harness slipped. Rex tore free. He bolted for the ladder. His claws scraped metal. Hale shouted after him, "Rex!" Reed was on the upper deck, reviewing convoy positions. He turned at the sound. A dog, running. He yelled for someone to contain the animal. Crew members jumped aside. Rex moved fast, his body low, driven. He reached the main deck in 8 seconds, started barking. 3 short bursts, urgent, directed. The pattern didn't exist in any training manual. 3 barks. Pause. 3 more. Hale reached the top of the ladder. His boots hit the deck hard. The surface was slick, wet from spray. He tried to follow Rex through coiled cables and equipment. The dog ran to the bow. Red lamps cast weak light across the forward section, 40 watts. Rex stopped at the rail, faced the black water, didn't hesitate, didn't look back. Seaman First Class Robert Mitchell noticed the direction. The dog wasn't barking at nothing. He was pointing, fixed on something specific. Mitchell was 22, from Tennessee. He'd been on LST-198 when it went down, watched 50 men die. He'd heard stories about Rex. He moved to the searchlight controls. Reed arrived, furious. Grab that dog. Hale was 10 feet away. Closing. Rex. The tension grew without explanation. The crew felt it. Something wrong, something close. Mitchell hit the searchlight. The beam cut across the water. White light over black surface. 1 million candle power. For 2 seconds there was nothing. Then the trail appeared. Phosphorescent. Arrow straight. Moving fast. Torpedo. 340 yards. Inbound. Alarm screamed. The helmsman threw the wheel hard to starboard. The LST's hull groaned. The rudder bit water. The ship began to turn. Too slow. Too heavy. 1,800 tons. Rex backed away from the rail, still barking. 3 bursts, pointing. The torpedo's wake was visible now. Clear line in the searchlight beam. Closing distance. 300 yards, 280, 260. The convoy behind them saw the light, saw the wake, started turning. The water churned white around their hulls. LST-477 completed 30 degrees of turn. The torpedo passed down the port side, 15 feet out, close enough to see the wake disturb the hull's waterline, close enough to hear it. A low hum beneath the water. It didn't detonate. It missed by seconds and geometry. The crew stood frozen, breathing hard, staring at the dog, at the water, at the empty space where the torpedo had been. Reed looked at Rex, at Hale, at Mitchell still gripping the searchlight controls. His hands were shaking. The deck was silent except for the engines, except for Rex's breathing, heavy, fast. The dog didn't rest. He turned, ran aft, toward the second ship in column. LST-622 was second in column, 200 yards behind LST-477. The crew had seen the searchlight, seen the wake, seen the first torpedo pass. Rex ran along the starboard rail. His paws hit metal in rhythm. He reached the aft section in 12 seconds, stopped, faced the second ship, started barking. 3 bursts, pause, 3 more. Hale was 20 feet behind. His lungs burned. Rex. The crew on LST-622 heard the barking across the water. Seaman Daniel Park was on deck watch. He'd seen the first torpedo. He grabbed his binoculars, focused on the dog. The dog was pointing. Same pattern. Park didn't wait. He hit the deck alarm. The klaxon screamed. Captain William Foster reached the bridge in 8 seconds. What is it? Park pointed. The dog, same as before. Foster had been commanding LST-622 for 9 months. He'd lost his previous ship LST-66 to a torpedo on October 24th. 37 men dead. He grabbed the radio. All vessels. Possible torpedo. Starboard side. The helmsman threw the wheel hard to port. The ship lurched. 1,800 tons trying to change direction. Rex kept barking, pointing, his body rigid. The second torpedo had been fired 3 minutes after the first. Same Japanese submarine. I-26. Commander Takashi Yamada had adjusted his calculations, aimed for the second ship. Fired at 2028 hours. The torpedo ran at 24 knots. Depth, 8 feet. Distance, 420 yards when Park hit the alarm. LST-622 completed 18 degrees of turn. Not enough. The torpedo closed. 300 yards, 250, 200. Foster saw it. The phosphorescent trail. Dead center on their original course. If they hadn't turned, direct hit. Ammunition hold. The ship would have vaporized. The torpedo passed down the starboard side. 30 feet out. Close. The wake rocked the hull. The crew grabbed rails. The torpedo kept going. Missed the propellers by 15 feet. Disappeared into black water. Foster stood frozen on the bridge. His hands gripped the rail. That dog just saved us. Park lowered his binoculars. His hands were shaking. Yes, sir. On LST-477, Rex stopped barking. Watched the second ship complete its turn. Watched the torpedo pass. His breathing was heavy. He'd been running for 90 seconds straight. Hale reached him, grabbed the harness. Gotcha. Rex didn't resist. He was watching the third ship, LST-881, last in column, 300 yards back. Reed arrived. His face was different now, not angry, something else. He looked at Rex, at Hale. That dog. Hale kept his hand on Rex's harness, felt the dog's muscles, still tense. The radio crackled. LST-622 to LST-477. Tell whoever's in charge of that dog thank you. Reed picked up the handset. Acknowledged. Rex's body went rigid again. His head turned, faced aft, toward LST-881. The third torpedo was already in the water. LST-881 carried engineering equipment and 8 tons of TNT packed in wooden crates, stacked in the forward hold. If a torpedo hit that hold, the explosion would be visible for miles. Rex tore free from Hale's grip. Again, he ran aft. His claws scraped the wet deck. His breathing was ragged, but his pace didn't slow. Hale went after him. His legs were burning. Rex. Reed grabbed the radio. LST-881, possible torpedo inbound. Take evasive action. Lieutenant James Morrison commanded LST-881, 26, from Michigan, first combat deployment. He'd heard the warnings about the first 2 torpedoes. He'd thought they were overreacting. He wasn't thinking that anymore. Morrison hit the alarm. The crew scrambled. The helmsman threw the wheel. But LST-881 had a problem. The starboard engine had been running rough since Manila. Maximum speed, 7 knots. Turn radius, twice what it should be. The ship began to turn, slowly, too slowly. Rex reached the aft rail. He couldn't run any further. The ship ended. He barked 3 times, pointed. But the distance was too great. LST-881 was 300 yards back. They couldn't hear him. Hale reached for him. Rex! The dog did something Hale had never seen. Rex jumped onto the life raft storage box, stood on top, made himself visible, kept barking, louder, 3 bursts, pause, 3 more, his whole body shaking with effort. On LST-881, Private Eddie Walsh saw movement on LST-477. He grabbed binoculars, a dog, standing on something, barking. Walsh had been on LST-342 when it sank. He'd seen Rex save Corporal Chen. He knew that dog. He ran to Morrison. Sir, the dog, he's warning us. Morrison looked through the binoculars. The dog was pointing. Same direction as before. Starboard side. Morrison grabbed the helm controls himself. Hard to port. Emergency speed. The damaged engine screamed. The ship shuddered. Started turning. Degree by degree. The third torpedo was Type 95. Fired from I-26 at 21:31 hours. Commander Yamada had adjusted for the damaged engine, calculated the slower turn rate, distance 360 yards. Morrison watched the water, couldn't see anything, just black surface and white foam from their turn. Come on! The torpedo closed, 280 yards, 240, 200. Walsh stood next to Morrison. His hands were clenched, praying, words he hadn't said since basic training. On LST-477, Rex was still barking, still pointing. His voice was hoarse. His legs were trembling, but he didn't stop. Hale watched, felt something in his chest tighten. The dog wasn't going to stop, not until the third ship was clear. Reed stood next to Hale, silent, watching. He'd written protocols about dogs, about equipment. He was watching those protocols save 200 men. LST-881 completed 42 degrees of turn. The torpedo passed down the starboard side, 60 feet out, wider margin, safe. The wake was barely visible. Walsh exhaled. Morrison's hands were shaking on the helm. The engine RPM dropped back to normal. Rex stopped barking. His legs gave out. He collapsed on the storage box. Still breathing, still alive, but spent. The 3 ships held their new headings for 18 minutes. The formation was broken. LST-477 headed northwest. LST-622 headed west. LST-881 held southwest. But they were alive. At 2149 hours, the all-clear signal came through. Japanese submarine contact lost. Resume original course. The convoy reformed. Slowly, the ships moved back into column, 300 yards between vessels, same as before, but different. Reed stood on the bridge of LST-477. He'd been writing in his log for 15 minutes. His handwriting was tight. His hand shook slightly. November 27, 1944, 2147 hours. K9 number 741 detected 3 torpedoes before sonar contact. Detection range estimated at 300 to 400 yards. Detection method unknown. Recommend immediate review of protocol regarding K9 assets during night operations. He stopped writing, crossed out K9 assets, wrote military working dogs, then crossed that out, wrote dogs, and left it. Hale was on the lower deck with Rex. The dog was lying on a blanket, breathing steady now. His eyes were open, alert. Hale had brought water. Rex drank. 3 full bowls. Hale checked the dog's paws. The pads were cut. Not deep, but bleeding. The metal deck had torn them. Rex hadn't shown it, hadn't limped. A medic came down, Corporal Frank Liu. He looked at Rex's paws. These need cleaning. Liu worked quietly, cleaned each paw, applied sulfa powder, wrapped them in gauze. Rex didn't move, just watched. Liu finished, stood. That dog saved my life tonight. Saved all of us. Hale said nothing, he knew. Crew members started coming down to the lower deck, 1 at a time, then 2, then 5. They didn't say much, just looked at Rex. Some touched his head, gentle, respectful. Others just stood there. Private Tommy Chen came down. He brought a piece of beef from the galley, fresh, rare, held it out. Rex took it, ate slowly, his jaw was tired. Mitchell came down, the searchlight operator. He knelt next to Rex. Thank you. 2 words. Foster radioed from LST-622, asked permission to come aboard at next port. Reed granted it. Morrison from LST-881 requested the same. Reed granted that too. By midnight, 47 crew members had visited the lower deck. Some brought food, some brought water, some just stood. Present. Reed came down at 0043 hours. The last one, he stood in the doorway, looked at Rex. The dog looked back. Neither moved. Reed walked forward, knelt. His uniform was crisp, clean. He reached out, touched Rex's head once, brief, then stood, walked back to the ladder, stopped, turned. I was wrong. About protocols, about equipment, about what matters. Hale looked up. Rex is a good dog, sir. Reed nodded. Yes, the best. He climbed the ladder. His footsteps echoed up through the ship. Rex's ears tracked the sound until it faded. The engines thrummed. The water slapped the hull. The convoy moved through Surigao Strait. 3 ships, 651 men, all alive, all because a dog broke protocol. The convoy reached Leyte Gulf at Orchascan 20 hours. Dawn broke gray and quiet. The 3 ships moved into anchorage. No fanfare, just the steady work of securing lines. Word spread anyway, ship to ship. A dog had detected 3 torpedoes, saved 3 ships, 651 men. By 800 hours, engineers from all 3 vessels requested permission to interview Hale. They came with notebooks, questions about Rex's behavior patterns. Lieutenant Commander David Chen was the senior engineer from LST-622. He sat across from Hale in the mess hall. Tell me everything. Hale described it. The rigid body, the head snap, the low growl, the precise direction, the 3 barks, the pause, 3 more barks. Chen wrote it down. Every detail. How long between the body going rigid and the barking? 12 seconds. How many times did the pattern repeat? 5 times per torpedo. Always 3 bursts. Chen looked up from his notes. The dog was indicating direction and urgency. Biological sonar. Hale nodded. He'd known it for months, but nobody listened. Not until 600 men almost died. Foster came aboard LST-477 at 0945 hours. He found Rex on the lower deck. The dog was resting. His paws were still wrapped in gauze. Foster knelt, reached out slowly. Rex allowed it. Foster touched the dog's head. Gentle, brief. We owe him everything. Hale said nothing. Morrison arrived an hour later, younger, shaken. He stood at a distance, watching Rex. The dog's eyes tracked him. Morrison took a step forward. stopped, took another step. Rex didn't move. Morrison knelt. His hands were shaking. "Thank you." Barely audible. Rex's tail moved. Once. Reed spent the morning writing reports. Official language. Precise timestamps. But his hand kept stopping. K9 number 741 detected threats before all electronic systems. He crossed it out, wrote it again, finally left it. By noon, the story had reached the 5th Amphibious Force Command. Rear Admiral Thomas Kincaid requested copies of all reports, wanted to meet the dog. There was no detection method, just instinct, just a dog who sensed compressed air and metallic oil and displaced water at ranges no human could match. Chen finished his interviews by 1400 hours, 16 pages of notes, behavioral observations, timeline analysis, pattern recognition data. He called it the Rex Protocol. The Rex Protocol described 3 elements: body rigidity indicating initial detection, directional focus showing threat bearing, triple bark pattern signaling confirmed danger. The pattern was consistent, repeatable, reliable. Chen submitted his report to Reed at 1530 hours. Reed read it twice, made no changes, forwarded it to Admiral Kincaid with a single-line endorsement. Recommend immediate implementation across all K9 units assigned to amphibious operations. Hale stayed with Rex. The dog slept most of the afternoon, exhausted, his paws healing, but his ears still moved, tracking sounds, never fully at rest. The crew treated Rex differently now, not as equipment, not as an animal, as something else, a veteran, a guardian who'd earned his place through action. The 5th Amphibious Force issued Technical Bulletin 4427 on December 2, 1944, 5 days after Surigao Strait. Classified restricted, distributed to all units with K9 assets. Subject: enhanced detection protocols for military working dogs during naval operations. The bulletin described the Rex protocol in clinical language. Observable behavioral indicators, response procedures, training modifications. It never mentioned Rex by name. Just K9 number 741, but every handler knew. Training programs changed within 2 weeks. Handlers learned to recognize body rigidity, to note directional focus, to interpret bark patterns. 3 bursts meant confirmed threat. 2 bursts meant possible threat. 1 burst meant investigation required. The changes spread informally first, handler to handler, base to base, then formally through official channels. By January 1945, every K9 unit in the Pacific had received updated training protocols. Rex never trained other dogs, but handlers watched him, studied him, learned to read the subtle signs. Lieutenant Reed submitted 3 follow-up reports, December 10th, December 18th, January 3rd. Each documented Rex's continued performance. 2 more submarine contacts detected, both at ranges exceeding sonar capability. Reed's December 18th report included a recommendation. All LSTs operating in contested waters should embark qualified K9 teams. The recommendation was approved. Implementation began in February 1945. Hale received orders on January 15, 1945. Report to Naval K9 Training Center, San Diego. Duty: Chief Instructor, Advanced Detection Methods. He would teach others what Rex had taught him. Rex went with him. K9, number 741, reassigned to training duties. The dog would demonstrate. Handlers would learn. They left the Philippines on January 28th. Transport ship to Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor to San Diego. Rex spent most of the voyage on deck, watching the water. Foster and Morrison both wrote letters, submitted through official channels, recommending K9 number 741 for commendation. The letters cited specific actions: 3 torpedoes detected, 3 ships saved, 651 lives preserved. The commendation never came. Dogs didn't receive medals, but the letters were filed, became part of Rex's service record. Chen's technical analysis was published in Naval Engineering Quarterly, March 1945 issue. The article was titled Biological Detection Systems in Anti-Submarine Warfare. It described Rex's performance in abstract terms: detection ranges, response times, accuracy rates. The conclusion was simple. Properly trained canines could detect submarine-launched torpedoes at ranges exceeding conventional sonar by 40 to 60%. The article changed doctrine. By June 1945, K-9 teams were standard on all amphibious assault ships. By August, every major naval base had expanded K-9 training programs. Rex's name didn't appear in the article. Just K-9 number 741, but handlers knew, crews knew, engineers knew. The dog who broke protocol became the dog who changed it. Admiral Kincaid visited the San Diego Training Center on March 12, 1945. He watched Rex demonstrate detection procedures, watched the dog's body go rigid, watched the directional focus, watched the three-bark pattern. He watched Rex work for 15 minutes, turned to Reed. "This is the most reliable detection system I've seen in 30 years of service." Reed nodded. "Yes, sir." Rex never went back to the Philippines. His war ended in San Diego, training, demonstrating, teaching handlers what he'd known instinctively. Hale stayed with him. Morning demonstrations, afternoon training sessions, evening care. The routine was different from combat, quieter, but Rex remained alert. The dog's paws healed, the cuts from the metal deck closed, left small scars, reminders of November 27th, of 3 torpedoes. By April 1945, Rex had trained 47 handler teams. Each team learned the same lessons. Watch the dog's body, trust the rigid focus, act on the 3-bark warning. The dog knows first. The teams deployed across the Pacific, New Guinea, Okinawa, the Philippines. They carried Rex's lessons with them. Some teams detected torpedoes, some detected mines, but they all watched their dogs differently, with respect. The war ended August 15, 1945. VJ Day. The news reached San Diego at 1600 hours. Celebrations erupted across the base. Rex slept through most of it. He was 8 years old now. Tired, Reed wrote the final report on September 3, 1945. Service record summary for K-9 number 741. 3 pages, factual, precise. It listed deployments, detections, training contributions. It ended with a single paragraph. K-9 number 741 demonstrated exceptional detection capabilities during combat operations November 27, 1944. Subject K-9 detected 3 Type 95 torpedoes at ranges between 300 and 420 yards, exceeding acoustic detection systems by significant margins. Subsequent behavioral analysis led to revised K-9 training protocols implemented across all Pacific amphibious forces. Estimated lives saved through direct action, 651. Estimated lives saved through protocol implementation, uncounted. Recommend honorable discharge with full benefits. The discharge came through September 18th. Rex's military service ended. 8 years old, 3 years active duty, 2 combat deployments, 17 documented detections. Hale adopted him officially. The paperwork was simple. Handler adopts military working dog upon retirement. Common practice. They left San Diego on September 25th, drove north, back to Oregon, back to timber country. Rex lived 7 more years. He spent them with Hale, walking forest trails, sleeping on cabin floors, listening to wind through pine trees instead of water against hulls. He died May 14, 1952, 15 years old, heart failure, peaceful. Hale buried him on his property under a Douglas fir facing west. The grave marker was simple. Rex, K-9, 741, 1937-1952, faithful. Foster and Morrison both attended the service. They drove across the country, stood in Oregon rain, said nothing. 3 ships, 651 men, all because a dog broke protocol. The Naval K-9 Training Center in San Diego still teaches the Rex protocol. Handlers still learn to watch for body rigidity, for directional focus, for the 3-bark warning. They learn the story. November 27, 1944, Surigao Strait. They learn that sometimes the best equipment doesn't have a manual. Sometimes it has instinct. Sometimes it saves everyone by refusing to obey. We honor legendary tales of courageous dogs who changed the course of battles in ways you'd never imagine. If that resonates with you, Like this video and subscribe for more epic, creative We Too inspired stories of bravery, loyalty, and surprising canine ingenuity.